The day began like any other, but by noon, the skies darkened as a massive fleet of alien ships loomed over Earth. For days, a series of bright lights had been spotted in the heavens, dismissed by many as mere celestial phenomena. But the truth was far more terrifying. As the alien vessels descended, their sheer size and alien architecture cast an ominous shadow over cities and countryside alike. Panic gripped the world as news reports blared across screens, broadcasting the unfolding crisis. Amid the chaos, Voreth, the imposing leader of the Zintar, emerged from the flagship, a colossal craft resembling a dark, jagged fortress. Towering above even his own soldiers, he projected an aura of confidence that sent shivers down the spines of Earth's inhabitants. His voice, amplified to echo across the globe, rang with an unsettling blend of mockery and authority. He declared Earth a primitive world, ripe for conquest. The Zintar had traveled galaxies to find a new home, and they saw humanity as little more than insects beneath their boot. As Voreth continued his tirade, the Zintar unleashed a demonstration of their advanced weaponry. They targeted major cities, firing beams of energy that disintegrated skyscrapers in mere seconds. The broadcast showed millions fleeing in terror, the destruction raw and unfiltered. Voreth's laughter filled the airwaves as he addressed the world leaders directly, challenging them to mount a defense. He mocked their armies, declaring their weapons laughably inadequate against the might of the Zintar. This was not just a show of force, it was an insult to humanity's very existence. In the heart of a secure bunker, a group of scientists and military strategists watched the chaos unfold. Among them was Ilara, a brilliant engineer who had always felt like an outsider in a male-dominated field. With her sharp intellect and innovative spirit, she had long envisioned a weapon that could turn the tide against any aggressor. Now, as the Zintar flaunted their superiority, Ilara felt a surge of determination. This was the moment she had prepared for her entire life. She leaned forward, her brow furrowed in concentration, as she began to outline her ideas to the group. "Look at them," Ilara said, her voice steady despite the fear swirling around her. "They think they can just waltz in and take what they want. But they've underestimated us. We may not have their technology, but we have something they don't, ingenuity and a will to fight." The team listened, their faces reflecting a mix of fear and hope. Ilara continued, outlining her plan for an experimental weapon that harnessed energy from the very environment the Zintar sought to conquer. It was risky, but they had little choice. The world's conventional weapons would not hold against the advanced alien tech. As her words hung in the air, the sound of explosions echoed in the distance, punctuating her urgency. Outside, the sky was alight with destruction, but within the bunker, a spark of defiance began to flicker. Ilara's vision resonated with her colleagues, igniting a collective determination to rise against their oppressors. They began to brainstorm, mapping out a strategy to turn their scientific knowledge into a weapon of hope. With the clock ticking and the world hanging in the balance, the team plunged into action. Outside, the Zintar's laughter echoed, but inside the bunker, humanity was preparing to respond, not with surrender, but with a fierce determination to defend their home and prove the aliens wrong. As the days passed, the chaos of the alien invasion transformed into a frantic race against time. The Zintar continued their bombardment, demonstrating their overwhelming might with each destructive blast that rattled the earth. Cities fell, millions were displaced, and a deep sense of despair settled over humanity. But in the underground bunker, Ilara and her team were fueled by a fire that refused to be extinguished. They worked around the clock, pouring their skills and creativity into the development of their secret weapon. Ilara, surrounded by her team of scientists and engineers, spread blueprints across the table, detailing her ambitious plan. "We can harness energy from the Earth's core," she explained, her fingers tracing the lines of the diagrams. "If we can channel it properly, We could create a pulse strong enough to disrupt their technology, even for just a moment. That might be all we need to turn the tide." The group listened intently, their eyes lighting up with the possibilities. With each passing hour, the urgency grew. The Zintar were not just mocking humanity, they were dismantling it piece by piece. The team knew that failure was not an option. If they were to have any chance at victory, they needed to act quickly. As they toiled, Ilara's resolve solidified. She coordinated their efforts, each member taking on a vital role in the project. They gathered materials from the ruins of their cities, repurposing anything they could find. Old military hardware, power generators, and even everyday objects became components of their weapon. Each item was a reminder of the resilience of humanity, and every day the weapon took shape, slowly morphing from a mere concept into something tangible. Word of their efforts began to leak out, sparking a glimmer of hope among the battered populace. Citizens rallied to support the project, sending supplies, expertise, and encouragement. Ilara's team became a symbol of defiance, drawing strength from the determination of those who had lost everything. They began to realize that their fight was not just against the Zintar, but for the survival of humanity itself. As the final adjustments were made to the weapon, a sense of anticipation crackled in the air. Ilara stood before her team, her heart racing with both fear and excitement. Today, we show them that humanity will not back down. We may not have their technology, but we have something far more powerful, the will to fight for our existence. Ilara's words reverberated with her team, bolstering their spirits. They gathered for a final briefing, each member equipped with a renewed sense of purpose. With their weapon ready, they made the bold decision to broadcast their intentions to the world, a calculated gamble that could either inspire hope or sow panic. The moment arrived, and as the footage aired across news channels, people watched in awe. Ilara spoke directly to the camera, her voice steady and fierce. "We may be outmatched, but we refuse to be outwitted. We have developed a weapon that will disrupt the Zintar's technology, and we will use it. We will fight back." As the broadcast concluded, the world erupted in a mix of fear and excitement. Humanity stood on the brink of confrontation, ready to reclaim their planet. The Zintar, unaware of the storm brewing beneath them, continued their tirade of mockery, their arrogance blinding them to the resilience of the human spirit. Little did they know that beneath the surface, a force was gathering, ready to strike back with a power they could never have anticipated. The date of reckoning arrived with a thunderous sky, foreboding yet electric with anticipation. As the Zintar prepared for their grand offensive, a sense of determination surged through the hearts of Earth's defenders. Ilara stood at the control station of the newly finished weapon, her fingers poised over the controls. The air was thick with tension as she exchanged glances with her team, who mirrored her resolve. Today, they would demonstrate that humanity was anything but primitive. As the Zintar unleashed their full might upon the city, beams of destructive energy rained down, leaving devastation in their wake. Yet, amidst the chaos, Ilara activated the weapon. A brilliant pulse of energy shot from the ground, illuminating the sky as it arced toward the nearest Zintar flagship. In that moment, everything fell silent. The world held its breath as they witnessed the culmination of their hope. The pulse struck the flagship with a blinding flash, sending shockwaves through the Zintar fleet. Systems failed, shields flickered, and the once mighty vessels were thrown into disarray. The humans watching from the streets erupted in cheers, their fear transforming into a potent mix of exhilaration and disbelief. They had struck back. They had shown their enemies that they could not be so easily dismissed. The Zintar, caught off guard, scrambled to regain control. Vorath's voice crackled over the communications channels, a mix of fury and confusion. "This is a temporary setback. Regroup and destroy them." His commands were met with chaos as alien soldiers struggled to comprehend the sudden turn of events. The tide was shifting. With their advantage, Ilara and her team swiftly mobilized ground forces to capitalize on the Zinter's confusion. Soldiers and civilians alike banded together, wielding improvised weapons, firearms mixed with makeshift energy devices created from scavenged technology. Armed with determination and a fierce desire to protect their home, they charged into the streets, engaging the disoriented Zinter forces with a resolve that surprised even themselves. Amid the chaos, the air was electric with energy. Earth's defenders took to the skies in retrofitted jets, manned by pilots who had once been grounded by despair. They soared through the clouds, engaging Zinter ships in aerial combat. Their tactics were unorthodox, relying on guerrilla strategies that exploited the Zinter's advanced technology. They darted and weaved through enemy fire, firing their own weapons with precision and creativity, reveling in their unexpected triumphs. Ilara coordinated the ground assault from the bunker, her voice steady as she provided updates and strategies. She encouraged the troops, sharing information about enemy movements and weaknesses, her passion igniting the spirit of those fighting in the streets. The world was watching, and every victory echoed louder than the last. In a pivotal moment, a squadron of human fighters made a daring attack on the flagship that had initially mocked them. They approached, weaving through energy blasts, and in a synchronized move, launched a barrage of missiles. The impact sent shockwaves through the alien ship, and for the first time, the Zinter realized they were facing a united humanity, determined and resilient, ready to defend their planet at any cost. The tide of battle surged as humanity rallied around their newfound strength. Victory was no longer a distant dream, it was within reach. As cheers erupted in the streets, the Zinter's arrogance began to wane, replaced by a creeping sense of dread. Ilara's belief in humanity had sparked a flame that refused to be extinguished, igniting a rebellion that would echo across the cosmos. The momentum of the battle swung like a pendulum, and humanity seized the opportunity to mount a relentless counteroffensive. Ilara and her team, now battle-tested and emboldened, became the nerve center for Earth's resistance. Their bunker, once a place of fear and uncertainty, transformed into a hub of innovation and strategy. As the alien fleet reeled from the initial assault, Ilara began to craft more elaborate tactics, knowing that they needed to maintain the pressure on the Zinter forces. News of humanity's unexpected resilience spread like wildfire. Civilians across the globe rallied, joining the fight in any way they could. Makeshift weapon factories sprang up in basements and backyards, while hackers worked tirelessly to undermine the Zinter's communication systems. The planet seemed to pulse with a newfound energy, as if the very essence of humanity was awakening. The battle began to take on a rhythm, a brutal dance of destruction and defiance. Human fighters, armed with retrofitted aircraft and improvised weaponry, launched daring strikes against the Zinter ships. In the skies above cities, still smoldering from previous attacks, dogfights erupted, with pilots weaving through enemy fire and executing breathtaking maneuvers. Each engagement was a testament to human ingenuity, as they outsmarted their technologically superior foes with guerrilla tactics and unyielding resolve. On the ground, Ilara's troops engaged the Zinter foot soldiers in fierce combat. The once overwhelming alien presence began to falter as Earth's defenders exploited their enemies' overconfidence. Humans were resourceful, using the environment to their advantage. They set traps, ambushed patrols, and executed precision strikes, utilizing everything from energy pulse grenades to repurposed drones that buzzed through the air like angry hornets. In the heart of the chaos, Ilara led a squad on a daring mission to sabotage the Zinter supply lines. The group moved stealthily through the ruins of a once bustling city where they would encounter enemy patrols. With a combination of stealth and strategy, they successfully infiltrated a Zinter encampment. Under the cover of night, they planted explosives on the alien supply ships, ensuring that the Zinter would be cut off from their resources. As dawn broke, the camp erupted into flames, the shock of their losses rippling through the alien ranks. Voreth, furious and desperate, issued a proclamation that resonated throughout the Zintar fleet. "We will crush this insurrection. They will pay for their insolence." His threats echoed with a chilling finality, but even his powerful presence could not instill the same fear as before. The Zintar's confidence was cracking, and the growing realization that humanity would not submit began to unsettle the ranks of the invaders. Ilara's tactics were not without their costs. Each victory came with sacrifices, and the faces of those they had lost weighed heavily on her heart. The fight was far from over, but every step forward strengthened their resolve. As they continued to engage the Zintar, humanity found a fierce unity that transcended borders and backgrounds. The struggle had become not just a battle for survival, but a testament to human resilience and ingenuity. In a moment that would become legendary, Ilara and her team prepared for what they believed would be the pivotal strike against the Zintar flagship. With the world watching, they loaded their weapon systems, steeling themselves for the confrontation that would determine the fate of their planet. As the sun set, casting an ominous glow over the battlefield, Ilara felt a surge of hope and determination. They had become a force to be reckoned with, and the Zintar were about to learn a lesson they would never forget. The day of the final confrontation dawned with an eerie stillness, as if the world itself held its breath in anticipation. Ilara and her team gathered at their command center, a mix of resolve and anxiety filling the air. Outside, the remnants of a once dominant alien fleet hovered ominously above the battered city, their ships dark and foreboding against the clear blue sky. This was the moment they had prepared for, the culmination of their struggle to reclaim Earth. Ilara reviewed the battle plans one last time, her mind racing with strategies and contingencies. "This is it," she said, her voice steady but filled with intensity. "We need to hit them hard and fast. Our weapon is primed, but we have to create an opening. If we can disable their flagship, we might disrupt their entire fleet." As the team nodded in agreement, a surge of determination swept through them. They were no longer just fighting for survival. They were fighting for their home, for every life that had been affected by the Zintar invasion. With a unified spirit, they suited up and prepared for the battle that would determine their fate. As the human forces took to the skies in a coordinated assault, Ilara watched from the command center. The roar of engines filled the air, and the sight of fighters soaring into action ignited a fire in her heart. They moved with purpose, their formations tight as they closed in on the Zintar flagship. The aliens, still reeling from their previous losses, scrambled to respond, but their confidence had begun to erode. Ilara's team launched the first wave of missiles, targeting the flagship with precision. Explosions erupted, sending shockwaves through the alien ship and disrupting its command structure. Alarms blared as the Zintar crew struggled to regain control, panic rippling through their ranks. Voreth, furious and desperate, attempted to rally his troops, but the once mighty Zintar had begun to falter under the pressure. "Keep pushing," Ilara shouted into the comms, her voice cutting through the chaos. "We have them on the ropes." As the ground forces advanced, they utilized every scrap of ingenuity they had developed during the conflict. Humans charged with makeshift weapons, their faces determined and fierce. The Zintar, who had once scoffed at their primitive technology, now faced a united front that was anything but helpless. In the midst of the chaos, Voreth unleashed his ultimate weapon, a colossal energy cannon mounted on his flagship. As the beam charged, Ilara sensed the impending threat. "Evacuate the area," she ordered. The team scrambled, but they couldn't let the flagship escape. It had to be stopped. With a final surge of courage, Ilara initiated the weapon they had been perfecting. The device hummed to life, drawing energy from the ground and converting it into a concentrated pulse. As she activated it, a blinding beam shot forth, colliding with the Zintar's energy cannon just as it fired. The two forces met in a spectacular explosion that lit up the sky, a radiant clash of power that sent shockwaves through both fleets. The Zintar flagship shuddered violently, systems failing and power flickering. In that moment of vulnerability, Ilara seized the opportunity. Now, hit them with everything we've got. Human fighters poured fire into the damaged flagship, and the remaining Zintar ships began to retreat, their morale shattered. Vorath, witnessing the unraveling of his forces, unleashed one last desperate command, but it was too late. The tide had turned irrevocably in favor of humanity. As the flagship erupted in flames, cheers erupted from the ground and in the skies. Ilara's heart raced as she realized they had done the impossible. The Zintar, once mocking their primitive arms, were now fleeing in panic. In that moment of triumph, humanity had not only defended their planet, but had also proven their resilience to a galaxy that had underestimated them for far too long. With the alien threat vanquished, Ilara and her team stood amidst the chaos, surrounded by the battered remnants of their once divided world. They had come together as one, a force forged in the fires of adversity, ready to rebuild and reclaim their future. The battle had been won, but the spirit of humanity shone brighter than ever, a beacon of hope echoing across the stars.